Hi, I'm Msgr Jamie, and welcome to a brand new episode of Breaking Bread. Today we have a very special guest, someone you all know. He's probably the most watched person on net, but you've never seen him in this capacity. You may know who he is. Don't go away. Hi, welcome back to Breaking Bread. I'm Msgr Jamie, and here is our special guest. Bishop, welcome.
Good to see you.
Thank you for being here. Now, I know everyone knows that, you're our bishop, but do they know that you like to cook? I think a lot of people do.
I think they do.
They know you like to eat.
I like to. There's no question
all
about
do.
that.
But tell me, you are the Bishop of Brooklyn now. You don't come from Brooklyn now. Where are you from?
New Jersey.
New Jersey. Newark.
Newark.
Okay.
Right.
And how many years you were a priest?
48.
48.
That's a long time.
A little before I was born. No, not really. But tell me, what was your first parish?
First parish was in Jersey City, so
Okay.
It wasn't that far from Brooklyn when you look at Manhattan, because everybody worked in Manhattan, just like over here in Brooklyn, they all work in Manhattan. It was
They
the
all
same
commute.
thing. It was another suburb of New York City. They didn't want to admit it though, but it was the same situation. They made the same grammatical errors as they did in Brooklyn. Very, very much at home here.
But tell me,
It's the same thing.
Statue of Liberty, who does she belong to?
Well, really, it's closer to New Jersey than New York, but the way things happen, New York got her.
So your first parish was in Jersey City.
Right.
But you come from Our Lady of Mount Carmel.
No, I don't come from. I was in Newark. I came from the Cathedral Parish,
Oh, okay.
but I was pastor in Lady Mount Carmel.
Oh, okay.
In Newark.
So tell me, when did you think of becoming a priest?
Well, I was thinking of it as a young boy. In high school, I was still wondering, but by the end of high school, I made my mind. I went to the college seminary in Newark, so that's how it happened.
Did you ever think you would wind up in Brooklyn?
No.
Now tell me, today one of the issues we're all facing is basically vocations. We need young men to join the priesthood, and what would you say to them is a way of inviting them to think about becoming a priest?
Well, it's a special vocation. It's a vocation that you never will regret if it's yours. It's not for everybody. It's for people that can accept priestly life. It's not an easy life. It's a life of celibacy, but a life of great satisfaction because you do so many good things for so many people. You get a satisfaction life that very few people have. So I think if young people are thinking about it, you want a happy life, you want a satisfactory life, well, think about the priesthood.
I would say, I agree with you. I'm a priest only 23 years, but I would say it's a very rewarding life because, we work hard, and I think the harder you work, the more rewarding it becomes.
Right.
Because people really appreciate what you do, they're there to support you, and they love you. And I don't think any other vocation you can really get involved with people's lives and become part of people's families as a priest. Because you don't have a family of your own. It's something you sacrifice and you give up, but the rewards are great. And of course, they're,
Nothing to compare
eternal
it to.
life, exactly. And I say, myself, and I think many people know that, I'm doing this show, that I'm a later vocation. I didn't enter the seminary until I was 30. And, I lived my life. I worked in the hotel business. I dated, I traveled, I worked. I experienced the world, and then I became a priest. And I think for me, it helped me greatly because I think I can relate to people in a much better way. And I think that says something for today's young people because at 18, like when you went in, or 14, when you thought, today, young people, they're not sure. Yeah. So it's okay. And I always say, it was always in the back of my mind from a young kid. But I say to young people today, if it's in the back of your mind, keep it there.
That's right.
Experience life, but never say never. And the Lord works through different people, and like myself, it was the people around me that kept on saying to me, do you ever think of becoming a priest? I said, I have, but I never pursued it. So I think for young people today, it's a way of life, and especially in the world in which we live today. So many people are looking for fulfillment in life.
Right.
And I
Not
think,
finding it.
yeah, they're going out, they're making great money, they're living high, but there's something lacking. And I think the priesthood is definitely, an alternative, and you're helping so many people. That's the rewards of it. How did cooking get into your life?
Well, cooking, I like to eat, so I would always watch, especially my two grandmothers, how they cooked to see. My mother wasn't a great cook. She was a good secretary. She didn't like to cook, but I would watch them to see what they did. And then eventually, again, growing up, you read a cookbook or try different things. So it was kind of a learning experience, observation.
I think like anything else, it comes from the home. I mean, and I myself, I grew up with cooking. My father cooked, my mother cooked. And it was interesting you said your grandmother, because on one of our episodes, we had Rosella from Cooking with Nona.
Oh.
And she was on the show, and she learned from her grandmother.
Right.
And she was saying how, her grandmother influenced her. And then she went out and she talked to other people, and they said so many of them, their grandmothers were the influence and not their parents. And when Nona came on the show, she said to us, she said, the mother should be cooking at home, and it's so important that you have a meal, you come together, you break bread, and you communicate with one another. You know what's going on in your lives, and today in the world, and you hear all these things are going on, and parents say, "Oh, I didn't know my child was doing this." Well, maybe if they sat down and had a meal every night, they would see something or be able to help their children and all. But it's something that we learn, and also it keeps those traditions and those dishes alive, because today, we're losing a lot of those recipes, and they didn't write things. I'm sure your grandmother didn't write it down. Say a little of this, a little of that, right? And that's what cooking is all about. And unless we preserve those, they're going to be lost. And I think you're going to be preparing this dish today. Did you learn this from your grandmother?
Actually, no.
Oh,
This is something I learned later on, but something I like very much. It's Saltimbocca Romana.
Okay.
So many trips to Rome, this is one of the special dishes you get in Rome.
Okay.
So Saltimbocca means it just jumps into your mouth.
Right,
Saltimbocca. So it's so delicious that it
just pops.
Pops. So that's why we're going to try this today.
Well, that's good. We're going to take a break, and then we'll be back, okay?
Very good.
Don't go away. We'll be back, and Bishop DiMarzio will prepare one of his favorite dishes. See you then. Welcome back to Breaking Bread, and we have Bishop DiMarzio with us, the Bishop of Brooklyn, and one of his, I would say, hobbies, or when you have nothing to do with, which is not very often. I know you don't have much free time, but he's going to be preparing one of his specialty Italian dishes. So what do you have here, Bishop?
Well, we have some veal, and we're going to make the Saltimbocca alla Romana. And normally it's prepared with a little prosciutto, and then when you finish it off, put some cheese and a little bit of underneath it of greens. You could use the spinach. And also the special ingredient is the sage, which actually I grew myself. I picked it this morning.
I know you grow your tomatoes also.
Yeah. Well, they're not ready yet. But the sage was ready. It came really good. So that gives it a special flavor.
Yeah, that has a strong, flavor to it.
Yeah, but it's good.
Yes.
So don't use a lot. One piece per piece of veal.
Okay, so I'll put a little
Put some oil, get that ready.
Use
we'll
some
start
olive oil?
preparing. Yep.
Okay.
We'll start preparing the veal.
Tell me when.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
All
Not
right.
too much.
All right.
Takes a long
You're the
time. If
boss.
there's too much, it's not good. Any meat that you're going to fry, it's better to bread it a little bit, because then
Right.
it doesn't burn. You have that ability to.
So you usually just flour.
There's flour. That's all you have to
No
do.
egg?
A little bit of, no egg.
Okay.
No, not for this dish.
Usually when you put flour, you don't use that much egg.
This is a different dish. It's not made for that.
Okay.
So you really have to play with it a little bit.
Great.
Now you have to use your fingers when you're cooking.
course.
I mean, you have to wash
you
your
wash
hands,
your hands
of course.
first,
But
of
I mean, you're really fingers are an inseparable part of cooking, and otherwise you're really not going to get it right. Sometimes people have these other things, but so this is kind of just a simple flouring, so when it fries, it doesn't burn. Gives some texture to it. And then we're going to put on top of this with a sprig of the sage, and then a piece of prosciutto.
Okay.
And then we're going to do the initial fry. And then as it's ready, then we'll put some white wine on it. So there's a couple of steps.
Okay.
So this step is like to take the sprig, the right thing. You have the prosciutto here, which is very good prosciutto anyhow.
Yes.
Very good. The best stuff here. And I like to use, which they don't do in Rome, a toothpick. because it keeps it together, and it keeps the sprig underneath. So you just have to take it out when you're ready to serve it.
Now, Bishop, I know you're busy. I know your calendar because I'm at many events with you for different things in the diocese. Do you cook at home when you are
Whenever
home?
I'm home, you know, we don't have a cook actually at the residence. Father Patrick Keating lives with me, and he's actually becoming a pretty good Italian cook.
Where do you learn from?
From me.
You're teaching an Irishman how to cook.
Well, he loves Italian food, so he's got to learn how to do it. So we did give him the basics, and that's important. And anybody can learn to cook. I mean, it's not impossible. People sometimes are afraid to cook. They have this phobia that it's not going to turn out right, and something's wrong. But
well, sometimes it doesn't turn out, but most of the time,
sometimes that
cooking, you could put anything together.
The only thing is, for me, it's more of a hobby because I do forget everything else with all the cares, worries, or preoccupations. When you cook, you really have to concentrate on what you're doing, otherwise you will ruin things. All right. So it's important to be able to just leave everything aside and concentrate on what's important, and that's what that piece of food that you want to make sure comes out perfectly right because you want to eat it.
Right. And then when you want to prepare for someone, you want it to be nice as well.
Exactly. You don't want to serve something that's burned or not
tell me,
properly
Bishop,
cooked.
what types of food do you? I mean, I know you're a little biased towards Italian food,
I do, but I cook anything else that's necessary. You know, some nice American dishes.
Now, our diocese, you know, we have, as you know, we're in a diocese of immigrants, and you go to different parishes.
Right.
Do you experience different foods and from the different peoples and cultures?
That's true, you do. Some of them are more food conscious than others, but you do find, you know, different people want you to taste their food.
And it's you know, it's an act of love.
Oh, of
you know,
course.
I'm sure they want, you know, they hear the bishop is coming and they want to put their best foot forward and make their best dishes.
Let's see, that's hot enough, I think.
Yeah, I think we're hot now.
Let's see how we do.
Lower it a little bit.
Lower it a bit, all right.
Yeah.
We'll try one of these pieces here. Oh, that's very nice. That's good. We'll try a second piece.
About right.
Cook it a little bit, then we'll just flip it once.
Just once, okay.
And then we'll put it aside, and then we'll probably put it in the oven to finish it off. Then we'll put the cheese on it, and that's the way.
But if we wanted to, we could have finished it in the pan.
Well, not exactly. If you want to put the cheese to melt, you could do that on the second time. I flip it once, then back, so that you crispen the prosciutto. You don't want it to, it could be crisped a little bit. And then the cheese would be the last thing because it melts. You don't want it all over.
Okay, these are browning. I see now why, Bishop, you use the toothpick to hold the prosciutto.
And keep the sage underneath.
Okay.
Yeah. Now the sage is edible. Some people don't know that. I saw a recipe last week that you could fry the sage leaves with a little bit of batter. I never saw that. Yeah, in an Italian cookbook. You know, I look at once in a while, I keep myself out of trouble.
So now you were saying that some of the Haitian parishes you go, their food has the French influence.
Yeah, right. They really do a great job, especially in presentation. You go there, you think you're in a restaurant. I mean, the presentation is just spectacular. They really are able to really put it out. You think it's just excellent, excellent. So now we're putting some prosciutto on the veal that we've already fried.
Okay.
And we'll put that in the oven eventually.
Okay.
And then when we take it out, we can put a little bit of
spinach underneath.
Spinach underneath right now. That's good. We can get that ready.
Bishop, I know you don't have time to watch television. What are some of the cooking shows that you watch? Who do you like?
When I do, you know, have a little time, I like Lydia, of course. She's on at odd times, though. I'm not always able to get her, but she's very good. And that Janda, she's such a pleasant lady, but she cooks very, very well and not so complicated. I don't like anything with 15 ingredients in it. I mean,
and heavy sauces and creams, exactly.
Keep it simple, that it would work. Then we could put a little white wine on this before we put it in the oven. That'll keep it moist.
Okay.
So that's very simple and very tasty.
I think we could turn these.
It's a good meal. All right. Yeah, it cooks very quickly. This little
yes, it gets very hot.
It works very well.
it's amazing. The pan gets hot. It's an induction, and the stovetop still.
Very good.
Put your finger there. Trust me.
All right. I'm not hot.
You don't want to be a doubting Thomas.
No.
You tell me when. Put the little wine in?
No, we're
we'll
gonna put the wine
in the pan.
when we
Okay.
put it in the oven.
Okay.
I think that's the better way to do it.
And you know, it's a very simple dish.
Oh, it's very simple. This is quick.
Yeah.
This is a quick dinner, tasty dinner. I mean, you can have a little pasta first, of course, but there's vegetables with it. Yeah, a little vegetable here. That's why you put the spinach underneath, and so it does make a nice presentation.
Okay. Here's look, done.
So lower that a little bit, I think.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if you remember, we had one of our fundraising dinners at the house, and this was one of the main courses. You prepared it.
Oh, that's
And,
true. That's years back.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
True.
We had this.
That's right. Oh, that's when you sold my dinner. That's
Yes.
what you did. You
Yes.
sold me.
I think we got about $10,000.
That was a
to
worthwhile
have
dinner.
dinner with the bishop. 10 people at the bishop's house for dinner.
Yep, that's true. And I did it.
I put you to work, Bishop.
Put me to work.
Even at
I
home.
don't know. We have to try it again if we can. I mean, if for $10,000, I'll
worth
cook
it.
again. For the education, the fun was. That's what
Yes.
it was good. I just put a little bit of white wine on the
Here we go,
bottom
Bishop.
there. And this way, when as it put in the oven, it won't.
Take this little
piece of,
spinach out.
Oh, you are a real cook.
Presentation.
Presentation is half the battle. Food should be good, but that's enough.
Okay, great. We'll pop this in the oven.
Boy, he's got a real good oven underneath here.
Okay, we'll take
wonderful.
this out. Close this
And I
up.
would give it about 15 minutes, be more than enough.
So we're going to take a break, and when we come
Okay.
back, I'm going to ask you, what will have been some of the challenges here in this unique diocese?
Okay, I'll
So don't go
think
away.
about them.
And then we'll end it by tasting some of your
Oh,
dish.
good, very
Definitely.
good.
Don't go away. We'll be right back with Breaking Bread. Welcome back to Breaking Bread. I have my boss with me, our boss, the shepherd of the Diocese of Brooklyn, Bishop DiMarzio. And I think that's just about done.
It should be.
Let's
Let's
take
see.
it out.
Oh, looks good.
Wow. I'm not surprised.
All right.
Wow, looks great.
Very good.
Smells good too. You smell the wine and you smell
yes.
the sage.
All right.
Take this
That's
out.
what
Let
we
me
want.
a little spatula.
Spatula. Oh, we need a little wine with this, huh?
Of course.
We want to taste it without a little wine. Just a little bit, too much. All right.
Take one for now. Now, Bishop, I know you've been in our diocese since 2002. Was it? You came in?
2002, November. Yeah,
So it's
actually, October.
over 16 years.
Time
And
flies.
what have been some of your greatest challenges? I mean, I know it's there's a lot of challenges. I mean, diverse dioceses like we have.
Challenges in the sense that things that are difficult to do, and there's not easy things when you're dealing with people. You know, people are a challenge themselves. The priests are the biggest challenge perhaps in the diocese, to get them on your side, to explain to them
Right.
what you're trying to do, why you're doing it. And like the capital campaign, you were
Sure, yeah.
running it. We had to convince them this
Right.
was something good for the something good for the parish, something good for themselves,
For the youth.
for youth. So
Right.
this is what you have to do. You're really kind of a salesman in a sense. You have to really propose things and explain them.
And they all bought into
And
it.
they- eventually.
And they did the work, and
They
it was
did it.
very successful.
That's
But
it.
I guess you're saying
The thing is, to do that, you have
Right.
to have patience. You can't rush things.
Right.
You have to let them understand things, and then they usually come around. I haven't had any, I say, difficulty where they would not do something I asked them to do. Some things took a little longer than others, like the new co-cathedral.
Right.
Oh, that was a terrible idea in the beginning, you know, but what do you need that for? We have a cathedral. Now that we have it, I don't know how they did without it, you
Yeah,
know?
it's beautiful.
So these are the kind of things, those are what I say challenges, of knowing how to propose things to people. That's leadership. Leadership is not, being an autocrat. Leadership is getting people to understand and to move and to work together. So that's.
What about
kind
the
of
changing demographics of the diocese? I mean, we have an influx of religious people,
Yeah, our
non-Catholics.
diocese is, I say, on quicksand. You know, and 5 years ago, we hardly had any hipsters, yuppies, whatever these poor people want to call themselves in our diocese.
Right.
Now it's overflowing. So that's a whole new change. There were people there that went to church and now they're not living there anymore.
They all moved away.
How do we do that? We set up a special mission for them in Williamsburg. We're right in Williamsburg right now. So those are the kind of things. But let's taste the food as
Okay,
we're
great.
talking.
Okay, great.
It looks too good just to look
I
at.
know.
Uh-huh.
Let's see.
All right.
Now, I guess I have to be honest with this, right?
You
I
better
mean,
be honest.
I can't lie to
No.
my bishop that it tastes good if it doesn't. But I don't think I have to do
It
that.
can't be bad. It's all good ingredients. Nothing will taste bad unless you cook it properly. They'll got good ingredients. They usually will come out good.
That is good. Excellent.
Right? You have the flavor of the sage, prosciutto, the veal.
And the toothpick.
spinach.
The toothpick tastes good too.
Toothpick, don't eat the toothpick, that's all.
It's hard. You have to make sure you take it out because the cheese covers it, but it's
Good. All right, I fit the spot. Very good.
very good, Bishop. I also know that we're very much involved in education. Catholic education is a big issue. But you know, people aren't having as many children as they were before. They are moving out. They can't afford to stay in our neighborhood. So with the declining numbers, it's a strain on our schools
Yeah.
and the system. And I
Yeah.
know from the day one, you have worked tirelessly to try to strengthen our schools.
Well, that's another challenge. There's no question about it. And I think we've turned the corner. We just need to get more students into them.
Right.
But at least we're stabilized that we have schools that are viable, but they still need to have students, and we have to, and also to be able to come up with money to give people scholarships. So those are certainly was a big challenge to figure out how to do that. Again, how to get everybody behind it, to say, we really need this. This is part of our lifeline as a church. We need to keep doing that. So that's you know, that was a challenge.
And I guess the last issue is, you know, immigration. I mean, we are a diocese of immigrants, and we have to do whatever we can to welcome the immigrants to our diocese because most of them are Catholic. And we need to, you know, really
Well, the
fill
one
our
good thing
churches.
in our diocese, although there's a negative attitude in the country among some people, our diocese is rather positive. I mean, immigration is just part and parcel of what Brooklyn is. It always has been. Brooklyn and Queens together, one of the two most diverse places in the country. People accept it as second nature. We understand it. There are always little problems here and there, but in general, that's who we are. We're a multiple ethnic church, and everybody has their own place, and we, you know, welcome everybody. So that hasn't been as big a challenge. It's outside sometimes of our diocese. People don't understand how we can have one parish that has 5 different language masses on a Sunday. They just can't comprehend it. But we do it, and every parish has at least 2.
Oh, sure.
And very few are just 1 English. So that
We
it
have
is
4
a
here.
challenge.
We have Lithuanian,
okay,
Italian,
right.
Spanish, and English.
Okay, so
and I only
you
speak
see-
English, so just about.
That's how it works.
But that was great. Bishop, thank you, first of all, for taking the time, for being with us. Thank you for sharing, you know, this lovely meal with us. And, you know, I'm glad that, you know, we were able to see a different side of you.
Okay.
You know, one of your hobbies. But thank you for all you do. And I know you work very
Thanks
hard.
for your help.
And you
You're
are a great
One of my
shepherd.
best collaborators.
Thank you, Bishop. Thank you so
Okay,
much. I
very good.
appreciate that.
Salud.
Let's have some wine. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Breaking Bread, and I hope that you saw a different side of Bishop DiMarzio, what he likes to do on his free time. But thank you for being with us, and we'll see you next time on Breaking Bread. And when you see the bishop, ask him for a recipe. Normally, I give a reflection on faith, family, and food at the end of the show. But today, since we have Bishop DiMarzio, he's going to say a few words.
Thank you. Well, faith, family, and food, they really go together because we know that the family of God, it partakes of the body and blood of Christ at the altar each time they come to the Eucharist. And it's the same thing when you're sitting around your kitchen table, your dining room table. There's faith there, and there's food, and there's family. And that really goes together. I remember I lived with some sisters at one time, was in the convent, I was their chaplain, and the cook was an old Italian sister. And she used to say, "This is my altar. Yes, this is just like what you do at the altar, I do here because I feed the sisters. I make them happy, I keep them healthy." And that's the same thing with the Eucharist. This is how we bring family and food and faith together.
Thank you, Bishop. It was beautiful.